Justin, and welcome to the Make Life Rich movement. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Very excited. Thank you.
Everyone, we are speaking with Justin Gurland today. He is a licensed social worker and the founder of a brand new sober social club located in the Flatiron District of New York called The Maze. I, for one, think this is a concept in long time coming, and I'm so excited to dive into every bit of that today with you. But first, I would love to get back to what you were like when you were younger. I knew you grew up in New Jersey, which I did as well. So I'd love to commiserate on the time spent in the dirty Jers, because I think there's always a little mustard seed of let's say, imbibing due to boredness at a certain point in our lives in New Jersey that really can follow you through life. And I think you and I shared that kind of time frame together.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. It's so funny when I think about think about my childhood. I didn't really know, I didn't have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
So in many ways, it was just the way it is. Um, and then I guess as I got older and started to expand my horizons, with I don't know different friends or experimenting with different things,
Mm-hmm.
I can I guess I had a basis for comparison of what life could be like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then it really it really took a turn, I guess, when I went to college. But
Mm-hmm.
growing up, it was all good, really, for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. I have a very had and have a very tight knit, close family that I adore, and I'm the oldest of four kids, so I guess I was kind of the leader of the pack, and
Mm-hmm.
um, family vacations, and it was all good.
Yeah.
Um, I just never really had an interest in school. Was my thing. I just was
Mm-hmm.
never really that excited about school. I had that's where I felt the most bored and
Yeah.
uninterested, is when I had to sit through school. I had a couple teachers here and there that were they get me,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it was just you know,
Yeah.
and so frustrating because now I have this ability to remember kind of useless information. I'm really good at trivia. I'm really good at Jeopardy.
Oh,
Tried
fun.
out a couple times, and
Nice.
it's all stuff that would have served me really well in social studies or whatever back in
Right?
the day, but but it didn't. Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey, tight knit family, and I guess I just started to. I had a very I had an interest in music, live music specifically, and that was kind of that's how I escaped any
Mm-hmm.
kind of boredom that I had. I just would
Mm-hmm.
daydream or find a way to get to concerts, and so I started kind of experimenting with drugs and alcohol too. It was a sort of a way to escape, but it was just something that I enjoyed. It's how I maintained, or not maintained, but got close with people. This was kind of it's just what we did. It didn't really seem inappropriate or weird or anything like that at the time. It was just kind of what you did. In the suburbs, you kind of just drive around, and
Yeah.
that's what we
Hours and
did.
hours and hours.
Yeah, endless, endless.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When I was just reading up on you a bit, I noticed that you were from northern New Jersey. You had train access to get immediately into New York, which for me and Cape May, we were closest to Atlantic City or Philadelphia, so we were all kind of, getting the fakes and scooting up to the city and doing the things. I'm 40, so I think we're around like the same age group of not really growing up with the internet to kind of take up your time. I think there's a lot to be said for our age group and just really having to keep ourselves occupied without having
Yes.
like these pacifier devices right in front of us. And I don't want to speak for our entire generation, but I do feel like there was a whole lot of high school laying down the groundwork for us to be able to hide things from our parents. It was a really interesting time where our parents weren't being neglectful or bad. It was just they were from such a totally different time. We thought pre internet, we were at like the helm of everything cool. And then, the 2000s come on in. And then I think our generation was very easily sandwiched. And I think we kind of were thought to be the good kids that weren't going to get in trouble and kind of got left to their own devices. But I noticed in college for myself, there were a good number of us that became functional alcoholics because we had been drinking since 13, 14, 15 at, whether it's like a pit party out in the middle of the forest somewhere or like a kid's basement when someone's parents went on vacation. I wonder if there was a moment for you now looking back throughout this journey, and we'll get through all of the nitty gritty of it, but was there a moment where you kind of recognized like, yeah, there was a little bit of a sweeping under the carpet for me to be able to like not only justify this behavior for myself, but continue it when I left like the safety of being like in my home?
100%. 100%. That's a really good point about like I forget having to entertain myself because I'm not a huge social media person, but I'm in there, and I like to pretend like I'm not connected to my phone, but I am,
Yeah.
and the days of like reading a book to escape or pass the time are like they're gone,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just thought of this, but I'm just going to say it and then I'm going to get back to
Go
your
for it.
question. Like I said, I was never really interested in school, but I read the book Into the Wild, John Krakauer.
So good.
That was the first book I remember like choosing myself, like not it wasn't an assignment,
Mm-hmm.
reading it and being and like feeling like wow. That
Mm-hmm.
I just remember that. And I think that kind of speaks to like this desire to like just be out in the open road and just like really kind of like you're saying, throw everything away.
Yeah.
Burn your ID, burn your wallet and just go. And of course, I never did that, but I did try to escape in any way that I could. And yeah, there was a totally like sweeping under the rug
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
And like, and I don't even feel bad about it.
No.
It was the way it is. And I was also somebody who like, I always just like snuck in like right under the wire,
Mm-hmm.
nothing major, like nothing like catastrophic really ever happened,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, um, and over the years, I was witness to some horrific things with friends and colleagues and things like that. I've been to a lot of funerals and I've seen addiction, really not turn out the way that it did for me, which is ending in recovery, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, there was a lot of just like kind of looking the other direction, and I don't spend a lot of time thinking of it as like a generational thing or a cultural thing. I really think of it more of just like an individual thing, and I would certainly never want my parents to blame themselves for any path that I might have gone down. And
Yeah.
it's just my siblings. I have three siblings, like I said. They all kind of did their thing too.
Mm-hmm.
They never really colored outside the lines
Mm-hmm.
like I did. But everyone's got their own journey.
100%. I mentioned the kind of us in our particular age group of being like left to our own devices because I think it spoke a lot to certainly us believing we knew better, like we had all the right things in focus. And I don't know what college was like for you. We'll get into that, but I do remember for me college kind of being like, this is all foreign, but the only thing that's kind of came with me that feels similar is partying. And like I can make friends while partying. I can have interactions. I'm not lonely in this college town that's far from where I grew up. And it's so interesting to me now that throughout your journey, you are now creating a social club that is providing a space for those that don't really want to rely on having to go to an establishment with alcohol just to be able to hang out. So I do see that full circle moment there of just like, I find it very interesting and very endearing that your end goal throughout all of your work was to give others a place to be seen and felt and heard. Because I think at the crux of any wound or problem we have, we're not seen, we're not felt, we're not heard. And I just wonder, was there a moment for you within that time frame of kind of that younger years of the haziness of like exploring, trying new things, going off to college? Was there ever a moment for you where you were able to step back and be like, you know what? I'm not happy. Like I thought this was fun, but this is not, or was that later on in your journey?
It was later. I had moments. I remember very specific moments where I was like, this ain't right. But they were kind of fleeting because I never knew a before I got sober, I never knew a sober person. Period. I had one friend in college who went to rehab because he had gotten in trouble and he just withdrew from school and just literally like left
Oh,
so
great.
that he could like kind of save his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Sorry. I don't know if that's
Oh, you're
so
good.
he
You
can
can
sit.
curse. I don't care. You're good.
Okay, he can save himself. And so we stayed up for like 3 4 days, and like we walked him to his mother's car, and he just gone,
Yeah.
went away, and then he came back the next semester like as if nothing ever happened. So
Yeah.
I guess I had times where I felt like things just weren't feeling okay. I had a very dear friend of mine from high school died of an overdose.
Mm.
He had overdosed right around right in the beginning of Christmas break, and so we
Mhm.
were all home for Christmas break, like that month, December,
Yeah.
January, and he was in a coma, and it's like I was still, I kind of lost touch with my high school crew over the years, like a lot of people do, but at
Mm.
this point, it was still only a couple years after high school had ended. I guess this was my junior year of college when this went down. Anyway, so he's in a coma in the hospital, and we're there every day going to the ICU. It was brutal, and I feel like during that time I was like, I gotta get my I gotta get my act together here. Like
Mm.
I don't want to be him, but I was 21. I got sober at 25.
Yeah.
So whether or not those thoughts happened, I didn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, I, didn't- I don't know. I just didn't have that like fear factor that I maybe should have had at
Yeah.
that time, or could have. I don't know. Or it
Yeah.
happened exactly the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Most
Which
likely.
it likely did.
Yeah.
It is interesting though I had an alcohol addiction for 10 years of my life. I was very functional with it. It kind of went hand in hand with PR. There's going to an event, there's always free drinks. That would be my dinner for the night. I'm running around with clients, and it never really appeared to be a problem. And I thought that as a type A individual with things under control, this was a choice I was making. It was, wasn't something I was relying on, but it did very slowly become something that was just making my day difficult. I didn't enjoy it the next day, and all the number of factors that came into light. But uh, it did take, maybe 5 years ago, which was probably 8 or so years after me stopped drinking, to where I was like, wow, like that was a time. Why was I doing that? Like, what was the impetus for me just like completely having 2 to 3 drinks a day? And it was interesting. And it took a really long time to come to the conclusion that it was just out of sheer not feeling a part of a group, not feeling seen, feeling like a lack of worth. And I wonder within your journey of certainly within that adolescence, we have like this bravado of ourselves where, we don't think anything bad is going to happen. And, oh, that happened to them, but like, I'm good over here. And you can have that moment of questioning, but can you take us to a time where there really was no backing out from being able to face yourself, that you knew you needed to make a change? There was no
Yeah.
more kind of avoiding where you were.
There was really one specific moment, honestly, and
Oh,
it's and it
cool.
like it's an easy like that's the easiest question you'll probably ask me because it was
Oh.
such an impactful moment. I mean, the wheels were kind of falling off in my life. Like it's 3 years since I graduated college. I had no social life, no dating life. I was kind of like working for like a family business sort of thing, but like I was just kind of like wasting time. Like maybe I was going to go back to school, maybe not. I was lost. Long story short, I was lost. And my sister Julie busted me, red-handed, just caught me, and I, I didn't even know. It was such an impactful moment because like I knew like in my soul that something was had to change, and I knew that like I wasn't going to be able to sustain this for very long.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, so I'll just tell you, this is a good way to explain it, which you might appreciate. So about a month before this all went down, I read The Godfather, which
Yes.
I finally read it. Like after seeing the movie 1,000 times, I finally read the book, and it's maybe better, but that's a separate conversation.
Agreed.
And there's this part, you've read it,
Yeah. It's
okay,
amazing. Yeah.
it's amazing. So there's this part in the book where in the movie, whatever, Michael is gonna kill the cop and the other boss, and then he's gonna escape to Italy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, he describes this scene where the night before he's having dinner with his then girlfriend Kay, Diane Keaton's character, and he knows that the next day he's going to go kill these people and escape to Italy and not potentially never see her again. And she's just sitting there eating her dinner in the hotel as if like nothing's ever happened, and like he knows that he's
Yeah.
gone, and like the weight of that, and she's like none the wiser, and then only to find out kind of what went down, and then the truth comes out, and so
Yeah.
like it's almost like about like a few weeks earlier, like the universe knew what was going to happen to me, and I was just
Mm.
sitting there like blissfully ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, my sister kind of busts me, and she gave me a couple weeks of like, I'll let you take care. Like I'll give you the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then she finally sat me down or called me, and she was like, I can't take it anymore.
Oh,
If you don't do something about this, I'm going to. And she
man.
she put me in the position to get honest with my parents and my family, and that was kind of the beginning of my recovery journey. Was that day, and it was 3 days after my 25th birthday.
Wow. Shout out to siblings caring and paying attention to all the little signs and not
Saved my life.
stopping.
Saved my life. This wasn't. I mean, this wasn't even a little sign though. This was like glaring, loud, like yeah, fluorescent lights,
Oh,
fireworks. So
wow.
if she missed this, then that would have been a problem. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was there, but it had to be,
Yeah.
and you know I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been for her
Yeah.
to say, I'm the big brother.
Yeah.
Really? Is she really gonna like blow up my spot like that?
Yeah. Wow, what a dynamic. And I think it's gosh, you hope you never have these really life or death moments with your siblings to where you kind of are either in their hands or they're like you got to help me, but it is really interesting for anyone that's ever had one of those like come to Jesus moments with your siblings. There is almost like a an ancient ancestral tone to it to where you're like, "Oh, okay. Okay. I got like my shit just got cut. Okay. Like you are seeing me loud and clear. There's no backing away from this. I know you love me enough that you're not going to let me just keep doing what I'm doing over here." And I wonder if in that moment, did you feel relief or did you think like, oh crap, like I better like ball out these next couple of weeks and then like I have to come clean? And like, what was, if you don't mind, I'm completely open with you stating it, but you were subject to quite an addictive substance at the moment that one would, if they did find out their sibling was partaking, would be rightfully very concerned for your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was a heroin addict. We can say it. I mean, I think it's important to say because we all have certain perceptions and images of what we think an alcoholic looks like, a heroin addict, whatever.
Yep.
And it's important to understand that like it's not always what you imagine, and more
Yep.
importantly, it's important to understand what recovery looks like. So I,
Yes.
I'm very open about it because I want my story to be if it helps one person, if one person hears this and says like, oh my god, I can do it.
Yes.
So yeah, for sure. What was it? What did you asked me something else really good? I just want to make sure I get it.
Oh,
Do
just
you remember?
like what was your emotional state at
Oh,
that moment? Were you like, oh fuck, or like, were
yeah,
you relieved?
terrified.
What was that moment
No,
like?
I was relieved later, but I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, you idiot. 'Cause I felt like it was my fault. I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like she came over and I like walked her into my bedroom where like everything was instead of just
Yeah.
into the living room where like we could have just been hanging out. And this is where I start to like, in looking at the time I wasn't aware of this, but we're like in looking back where I start to understand that there's like higher forces in the universe that are like really, call it whatever you want, but there's absolutely a reason that I she followed me into the bedroom that day. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
100%.
terrified. I was angry. I wasn't mad at her. I was
Yeah.
sad. I was sad that it was like probably like she probably didn't sleep that night, and
Yeah.
and then she still didn't even say anything for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
In those last couple of weeks, I didn't feel like it was like balls to the wall. I felt like it was more like I don't know. I think it was just like a slow burn where like
Mm,
I knew the end was near, and I was
mhm.
just stretching it out as long as I could.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if also like approaching the moment, I'm imagining your parents had to kind of find out at some point. Was there like a scene or, was it how did it come across for you? I think everyone's addiction revealing to their family and their loved ones is such a different experience for everyone. And I wonder what was yours like, and do you think that it contributed to you getting a really good hold on your recovery journey?
100%. Yeah, I think that I sat my dad down and I told him the truth,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, I was like, Julie and I were like, we were working in his office, that at that time we were kind of working upstairs, a couple of different things, not important, but he was, she had said to me like, you know, we're saying something. If you're not saying something today, I'm going to. And she kind of took my hand, brought me
Mm.
downstairs. He's literally with the patient.
Oh,
So he's like, he's an eye doctor. He's an ophthalmologist. So I like the doors like kind of open, and he like sees me outside, and he like opens like, and he's like, what's up, and I was like, I need to talk to you when you have a minute. And he like takes off his gloves and like leaves the patient and
oh,
comes because he knew, he could tell
yeah,
something was going on.
yeah.
And I don't know what's going through his mind at this point. Is it like, did something happen to my mom? Did something happen to my grandmother? Who
Hmm.
knows?
Hmm.
I just saw him maybe 10 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
and I told him, and it took a minute. Like his first reaction, like steam was kind of coming out of his ears. He was like the world was just like imploding on him.
Yeah.
And I jumped out. I kind of jumped out of my seat. I grabbed him by his white doctor coat, and I just said, I need your help. I need your help more than I've ever needed it in my life."
Oh my goodness.
And the steam kind of like went back in his ears, and he was
Mm.
just like, "Okay,
Oh,
we're gonna deal with this."
wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I
It was
bet.
wild.
I have like goosebumps right now. Like even just seeing that in a movie scene, you'd be like, man, that dad, that sister, ah, like,
And my dad he's an amazing person, but he's very I want he's controlling, but I was gonna say like he gets shit done. Like he's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
like we always joke a couple years ago, my sister had a leak in her basement, and so like instead of calling a plumber, she calls my dad. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's the guy,
He's the
and
handler. He handles.
yeah, he handles stuff exactly. And this was certainly the first time I remember. I mean, I was 25, but like,
Mhm.
so I didn't always get to see his vulnerable side
Yeah,
as a kid. I mean, I was 25, but I was really like a kid.
yeah.
But it was the first time I really remember him being like, I do not know what to do in this situation.
Oh, wow.
And so he sends me home to my parents' house, has my sister follow me so that I can't disappear, which I easily
Hmm.
could have if I wanted to, but I was done.
Yeah,
I knew I was done.
yeah.
I get home and my mom is like waiting in the doorway, crying, and I was like, oh fuck. So I had to go through the whole thing again,
Yeah.
and then he called and he was like, all right, we got an appointment. We're going to a detox at 5 o'clock, and
Heck yeah. Wow.
I was there.
Blessed.
So now it's like, let's say it's noon or whatever. It was early in the day, and it was like that was like this crazy like polarizing feeling of like I cannot wait to get there. Like 5 o'clock cannot come
Oh,
soon enough, but
mm,
also I'm terrified. I don't want to go, and
yeah.
so I'm just like watching the clock the whole day, just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Oh
And
my gosh. That was your Godfather moment
yeah,
of
yeah,
knowing, like, oh man, I'm excited to do the deed, but it's coming. The day I
yeah,
didn't think was coming is finally here.
it's happening.
Goodness. So you get through rehab, and I have numbers and numbers of friends that have gone to some type of recovery facility, and they're all different, and they all have their different methods and their different things. And, it makes a lot of sense because we're all different people and our minds all work in different manners. But what was that first like 24 hours like for you? Was it like I got to get out of Dodge? I got to go look for what I need? Like, or were you kind of just like, oh, okay, this is it. I'm here.
So I first I'm in this kind of shithole facility in New Jersey. 'Cause they didn't know what to do, and then while I'm there for that week, they started to like actually do a little research.
Hmm.
I end up getting sent to a place in LA. You know, they picked me up and we went and met with this somebody else. And long story short, I end up in LA and I'm there. My first day there is Super Bowl Sunday,
Oh, fun.
and I'm a Giants fan.
Nice.
And the Giants are in the Super Bowl. They were like this, you know, they shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Okay, it was like this. Everything was just like by chance that they end up in the Super Bowl, and they're playing against the Patriots, who are undefeated, and the greatest team ever. You know,
Yeah.
statistically,
Yeah.
the Giants they were not supposed to be there, and they had no chance.
Yeah.
And I tried to manipulate my way into staying home for the game, and then like flying out after,
Yeah.
and nobody really wanted to hear my story. So anyway, so I'm there. It's my first day. I don't know anybody. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I hate myself. I'm across the country from anybody I know and love.
Yeah.
Everybody there like feels like they're all like friends, and I'm like the new guy, and I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the Giants win this unbelievable game. It really goes down in football history as just this crazy underdog story. And the game ends, and like all I want to do is call my dad and be like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" But they turn the TV off and they like whisk us into this room, and I had to sit through the first group I ever had to sit through in my life.
Hmm.
And the question was, "What is your conception of God?" And I was like,
Jumping you right in.
just right between the eyes. And I was like, really, people, like really? And it goes around the circle and it comes to me. I'm like, I'm the new guy. I don't even know how to participate in a group. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what that means, but the Giants just won that game and I can hold on to that for now.
Oh.
And I got a good laugh out of it, I think. But I really, that was like another, like when my sister found that stash, this was like another kind of turning point moment in my life, because as
Yeah.
silly as it is, it's football. Who cares about, at the end of the day, who cares? I know everybody like bleeds their team's colors and all that bullshit, but like it's a game. But
Yeah.
that moment was so important to me because it was just like that mustard seed, kind of like you said, of hope
Yeah.
that like,
Yeah.
all right, everything might be okay here. And
Yeah.
I really hung on to that.
Yeah. I think
So
that's beautiful to be able to have something like for people that haven't been in a space of like true hopelessness, and like you really do need something quote unquote silly like that sign for you that like everything's gonna be okay. If these motherfuckers can win the Super Bowl, I can make it through this week. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
be okay.
and that's not just if they had lost the game, we might still be sitting here having this conversation.
Yeah,
I
for
don't,
sure. For
I'm
sure.
not giving it that credit, but like I needed something to believe in,
Yeah.
and that gave it to me. And it was my first day there. That's not even like I got there at like 11. I pulled in at like 11 o'clock the night before, so I sleep. I wake up at Super Bowl Sunday. A week earlier, I was celebrating my birthday with like not a cloud on the horizon.
Yeah. Wow. Holy moly. So within that time frame, was this one of the first moments in your life that you were truly like taking stock of kind of what the past few years of your life had been like? Or at this point, are you still like,
Yeah, yeah, I was definitely.
yeah,
Because my parents were very supportive, and they were just like, let's just get better. But I had I had other people in my life that were pissed, like
yeah,
what's going on here, and
yeah,
it was a secret too. So it's not like I was like life of the party and throwing out drugs to everybody. Like
yeah,
I was isolated, and like when I was showing up, like no one really knew me.
yeah,
I was such a stranger.
yeah. I find it interesting that for you it was something that you concealed. Was that something that kind of started pretty young within your, trying and using things, or was it something that, once you left college it was something you kind of knew you had to keep to yourself?
Um, you know, growing up, like you said, like the concealing and hiding it. Like I don't blame, and that was just what you did. You
Hmm.
know, like you had to drive home with the windows open in the winter and spraying cologne. Yeah, like you, you had to keep mints in the car. You know, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
I don't really view it as the same thing.
Yeah.
My college experience was kind of crazy because like we were kind of crazy. Like my friends, like we all, like so many of us are now sober, first of all, but like so
Yeah.
many of us ended up as addicts. So
Yeah.
it was less of a secret there because we were all kind of doing our thing. And then like
Yeah.
I left that environment and came home, and I didn't have that like camaraderie anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's interesting. So the community was a good part of it for you, like the partying, having fun, being with friends.
Yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
was it for me. Yeah. Like life
I
of the
mean
party, get the good
I
vibes.
I think so. Yeah. I mean it changed. Like when it gets really bad, it gets isolating. You know. So
Yes. True. True. I wonder when you got to a space of, going through this week, was that your first and only stint in a recovery program, or did you need to continue your healing and your journey in that manner with a professional?
yeah, I mean I stayed connected to therapy and stuff like that over the years for sure. And I'm a believer in it and all that. That was my I was able to stay sober after that, if that's what you
Awesome.
mean. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So cool.
Yep.
So it's been 17 years of sobriety, which is such an amazing number. How was restructuring your life after leaving recovery and kind of having your like day one out in like the populace of like, okay, how do I move forward from where I just came? Because this is a whole whirlwind still. How do you find a solid footing, or is it possible to find a solid footing in that
Oh,
time frame?
of course it is. Yes.
Oh,
My
cool.
story was just interesting because like I wasn't really restructuring, I was kind of structuring.
I
Like
love it. Yeah.
I didn't really leave when I left my apartment that last day, I had every intention of going home at the end of the day.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I was just such a lost kid at the time, so it's not like I was not. It's not like I took. I was fortunate in the sense that I didn't have to take a leave of absence from work. I didn't have
Yeah.
to deal with HR.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't have any kids, of course, or even really anything like that. Any real responsibilities. So like my story is like I was very fortunate that like I was just like starting fresh.
Hmm.
So
Awesome.
I'm very intentional with not restructuring because like I wanted no part of like what was going on in my life prior to that. So it was really like let's just start anew. You
Wow.
know, like Bob Dylan, strike another
Yeah.
match, start anew.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really what it was. That's really what it was, and I was so
So
grateful for
cool.
that. Like I had help. Like I had a team around me, but like on
Hmm.
day one, we went to my apartment, packed up everything, put it into storage, out, canceled my lease, out. They were like,
Wow.
you're never stepping foot in this apartment again." I
Hmm.
said, "Okay." I just said yes to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just said yes. I didn't put up a fight. I didn't argue. It was just like, you're doing this, okay. You're doing that, okay. Not
Hmm.
why, just boom.
Hmm.
I had this really when I was in treatment, we went to meetings every night. It was just kind of what we did, and we take the van, like, load everybody in the van and go. And the rule was no music was allowed in the van. They couldn't put the radio on. And some of the drives were kind of long, and it was like
Yeah.
it was horrific. I hated it, and
Yeah.
what I hated even more is that they wouldn't tell me why. I couldn't wrap my mind, like my life was falling apart or had fallen
Yeah.
apart, and I had no idea which end was up. But I cared about the stupid radio,
Yeah.
and I finally said to this guy, I said, "Look, I'm gonna stop bothering you. Just tell me why. Just
Yeah.
why no radio? Like what? Like." And he put his hand on my shoulder and he just goes, "Because that's the rule, Justin."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Fuck." But like again, it was like another one of those moments where I'm just like,
Yeah.
just because is an answer. Stop.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't make the rules, dude.
Yeah.
If you were making the rules, we'd have a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if now as a professional who does work in the field of helping individuals with themselves, was it throughout your learnings and your teachings, was it surprising for you to recognize that, like, at 25, you still did not have a fully formed, functioning, like, frontal cortex, like all of your pleasure zones? Like, did that ever come into play to where you were like, oh my gosh, like, I was just out at the wills of the world, just trying to live life, and like, we don't even realize how much of our faculties we don't even truly have, like, at our fingertips yet, until what we imagine at 20 is quite an old age at 27. Like, it's so foreign. At 20, you're like, no, no, no. Like, sign me up for Social Security. I'm an adult. Like, get out of my face. Like,
Right, yeah.
I know what I'm doing here. But was that ever like a factor for you, of once you got to the space of kind of building a career around helping individuals in their transitions? Was it surprising for you to just see how much you navigated through when your brain quite literally was like not really able to support you in that process of it being like a smoother kind of like acceptance?
I think so. I didn't. I saw what you just described, which is 100% true. Um, I saw it more successfully in other people. So when I started to be like kind of sort of on the other side of the table, so to speak, and getting to help people in that way, and I would get kids that were in that stage of life, their mid 20s, where they think they've got all the fucking answers and they have none,
Yeah.
and parents are freaking out about like, oh my god,
Yeah.
and being able to say like, their brain is not even formed yet. Let's just relax. Let's
Yeah.
just slow down. It's helpful to understand that. I think when you're in it, it's not like when I was at my dad's office that day. Not that I had this information at the time, but I could be like, Dad, listen. Of course, I know this looks bad, but my brain's not really formed yet. So like, let's just take it easy.
Give me a few years.
It's, I think it took me a while to figure it out. But yeah, and I think, listen, I'm somebody who really believes firmly that getting sober at any age is a miracle. I really do. I think
Hmm.
that for somebody who identifies as an addict or alcoholic,
Hmm.
it's a day at a time, and you get that day, it's a miracle. But now when I don't know, whether you're 25, 45, pick the age, it doesn't matter. There's
Hmm.
always going to be a barrier,
Yeah.
which just really speaks to the importance of making it front and center in your life and making it the most important thing.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because I wonder if in your acclimating to now being sober, you're a professional, there had to be some moments where you're like, crap, we have to go to another networking event at this bar. We have to go to this birthday party at this lounge. Like, just the lack of communal space that doesn't have these temptations around, or even just the simple manner of having a different environment for gathering. Was that ever something you just kept coming up against and being like, oh, we have to come up with something for this? Because I feel
Not
like, no? Oh, I
Not
love
really.
that.
Not really. To be honest, like being in those situations, that didn't bother. It was the people that was there that would like get to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like being around like drunk people, like it. I mean, if anything, it was a deterrent because I found drunk people to be just obnoxious and
Yeah.
kind of smelly. Um,
Yeah.
but but being this, it didn't that's me personally. Like
Yeah.
it didn't really affect me, and I was like, I don't know. I got to the point where I could like pick and choose like what I wanted to attend and what I didn't. I got
Hmm.
really good at saying no to bachelor parties and stuff. Like once I got a little bit older and like was in that
Hmm.
stage of life, and
Hmm.
I would, I just have no business being here.
Yeah.
On a trip, someone's having a dinner out or a party, and I can show up and I could show face for a couple minutes and then bounce. That stuff was pretty easy too. But
Hmm.
no, I didn't really think about like having a place like that, like what the maze obviously turned out to be. I think is probably the direction that you're going. Like, no, I didn't. It didn't really occur to me to be honest.
Wow, I love that. Okay, so then where did the idea for the maze come from? Because I love that it was birthed from somewhere else, because you would likely think it's just from wanting to have a space for sober people, just exclusively. But
Well,
where did this come from?
let me rephrase. Like, it didn't occur to me at a time like you described. Like
Yeah.
I'm at a bar, I'm at a restaurant. Like, man, it'd be really cool if we had
Yeah,
X,
you're
Y,
not
or
like
Z.
waxing poetic over like, guys, we need a space.
No, oh, I guess like so. I got sober. the guy that like was like that really helped me. I ultimately I said to him like I want to do what you do, and he told me I had to go to grad school. He's like everybody that gets sober wants to work in this field, so you need to go to grad school. And I said okay, fine. I applied. I got it.
Yay.
I
Oh,
went to Hunter here in the city, and then I'm brushing through this so we can get to your question. But like I spent the next 15 years working. I got my social work degree and like kind of working in the field of addiction. And
cool.
I think I transitioned out of that a few years ago. And I think one thing, one like dividing line. Well, there's a lot of aspects, but one important thing I noticed is from like the people that like got it and the people that didn't get it
Yeah.
was building a community, finding your crew, finding your people.
Yeah.
That was like a huge thing that separated people, especially young people, because like
Yeah.
understandably there's an element of like, what are we going to do for fun? How am I supposed to date? You know, how am I going to watch the game? What about going to a concert? And those are like reasonable questions at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I remember having millions of conversations with clients and their parents especially who asked that questions, and I'm like, dude, you were in the hospital after a DUI like a month ago. Like, why don't we just like focus on what's important, even though the questions were legitimate.
Yeah.
So originally, I thought it'd be cool to have kind of like an elevated coffee shop
Mm-hmm.
where it would just be known as like the hangout.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Wi-Fi and outlets and place to meet, really, good food, good coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even here in New York, there's really not a lot of places. Like it's a churn and burn. They want you in and out. There's a
Yeah.
couple, but for the
Yeah.
most part, it's like when a place is really popular, you can't get a seat, and otherwise they kind of just want you in and out. So I'm like, what if we change that a little bit? And then as I started to, I knew I was ready to get out of the addiction field and like on
Mm-hmm.
that side of things, but I still wanted to be connected to it in some
Mm-hmm.
way, to the sobriety piece, and I had that thought about the community, and then as I started toying with it and researching it and testing it with friends and family, just this membership model just sort of blossomed, and I'm like, well, why not make it elevated? Why not make it like something you can like aspire to or grow towards?
Mm-hmm.
And also more importantly, why make it pigeonholed to recovery? That was something from the beginning I really wasn't interested in,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a growing movement of alcohol-free people that are not in recovery,
Yep.
and that's a huge market. And so it really just started to unfold very naturally and amazingly, and it's crazy like what has transpired over the last couple of years. And it was really, honestly, Sarah, it was like just take the next right action, just take the
Yeah.
next step,
Oh,
ask for help, talk to
yeah.
people that know more than you.
Oh, wow. I love that. So it was literally birthed just out of your curiosity and your want to figure out something new, a different way to go about things, which is awesome. Filling that
Yeah,
need.
yeah, and getting, how can we get people together in a new kind of way? And what was really amazing, like in the early stages, I would speak to these people that were sober because of Dry January, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It's and the amount of people that stop drinking for January and then feel amazing and they keep it going it was like inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. Um, but they were still resigned to hanging out with their old friends, and they were still going to the bar, and they were just not drinking because they didn't want to, but they were still kind of doing the same thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
those people were just like, yes, yes, we need a place like this. Because those of us in recovery, we kind of have community.
Yeah.
It's, like if you're really in recovery, that happens pretty quickly or pretty naturally. You
Yeah.
find your
Yeah.
people. So I'm fortunate in that regard. But
Awesome.
how can we
I
build
love
something
that.
Different?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
How can we do something different? How can we make
Yeah.
it like where there really is the place to go? And like
Yeah.
while you're there, you are meeting new people. It's not a see and be seen kind of place like a lot of members clubs are here in New York. And
Yeah.
you show up and you're only speaking to the people that you show up with. You're not making new connections. You're not making new friends.
Oh, I think there is something so cool to be said about also the structure in which you're giving the maze. It's not just somewhere you can be in the morning time. You're providing like a an absolute array of times that people can come in, different things they can be interacting with. Walk us through the space. So first, it's in the Flatiron District. It's on 24th between 5th and 6th. Okay,
Yep.
my New York is a little rusty. It's
No,
been
you
about
got
10
it.
years since I've had to walk around.
You're good.
Um, I did find really beautiful the fact that your old apartment was just a couple of blocks away, if my geography is proving correct. So
Yeah.
what does that feel like to be when you did close on the space for the maze? Was it an immediate reaction where you're like, holy shit, the last time I oriented myself here was a totally different life?
It wasn't immediate. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to have like this juxtaposition, kind of thing. And it's been
Hmm.
17 years.
Yeah.
But that, like I said earlier, that was the apartment that I walked out of,
Yeah.
fully intending to go back at the end of the day. So yeah, it's literally 2 blocks away.
It's crazy. It gives me goosebumps. That full circle moment for you. It's almost like that first yes. It seems like every yes after that has literally led you to this incredible undertaking. And how many square feet is that? I wrote this down because I was literally flabbergasted. Is it 4,300? Am
It's
I
4,600.
crap? 4,600. That 300
Yeah,
matters because it's New York, and
matters.
that's some good space there. But
Exactly.
walk us through the property. What kind of build out are we looking at? I know you have a full calendar of activities. I love the idea of your dinner, but let's talk the actual space. What are you
Sure.
outfitting it with? What's going in? And you have a very special guest bringing a
Yes.
restaurant into your space that I would love for you to
Yes.
drop as well. But
Okay, let's do that. So the space we were looking for quite a while before we found this. In fact, we first looked at this space in like April-ish, March, April last year. And in October, I was walking by and it still had the sign in the window. And I called our broker and I just said, "What's going on here?" And we ended up making it happen then. Just it was the price was insane back in the spring,
mm-hmm.
and then it was still available, and it was all just meant to be. So it was a former restaurant, so it had the kitchen built out already, which is huge in New York because
Mm-hmm.
that's just it's an insane cost to put in a kitchen if a landlord's even willing to do that. So it's on the ground level. It was previously a restaurant. We have an unbelievable architecture and design team. Opa Architecture and Adrian Laub are their names, and they've worked together for a long time. So I was I was very like deliberate with when we started. I said I can handle 2 or 3 options. That's it. I I do not show me more than 3. It's too much for me. Like picking out an invitation or a business card or something like that when it's like unlimited choices is my worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And they they were able to comply with that obviously, but what they were also able to do was work with the space as much as possible and like work with the bones of it, rather than starting from scratch. So, but it was in really good condition anyway. So it's outfitted kind of, green is my favorite color, so it's a lot of green. It's very very warm and welcoming. It's gonna have a full bar. Obviously, no alcohol, but we have amazing coffee, soda, and alcohol-free drinks.
Cool.
We have a lounge area, which is going to have couches, pool table, and TVs for sports, cultural events, things like that. And then we have a private room in the back that we're tongue-in-cheekingly calling the speakeasy, which will be a private space for dinners, events, things like that. So it can be rented out without interrupting the day to day of the club. So that'll be a big part of what we do: celebrating life events, hosting our own events, corporate events for companies. It's a members club, but non-members could have the opportunity to rent out space too, if it's appropriate, of course. And and the food, yeah, we secured Tom Colicchio somehow to run our food and bev operation, which is just like another example of like what is even happening here? Like how is this? Like, and I don't want to imply for a second that like there weren't bumps in the road along the way over my journey. I mean, it was definitely not a straight line, but you need it. You need to get knocked down. You need to lose. You need to lose in order to know how good winning feels like. And so,
Ooh,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, we brought in kind of a consultant who was going to help us with the food and bev piece, and they gave us a bunch of names, and we were excited about a lot of them. They weren't household names by any means, but we were like, oh, but they were in the restaurant world. They were kind of known. They were chefs at former restaurants and things like that. And then they called and they said, so Tom Colicchio is really interested in this, and I was like, is this a prank call? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then we
Wow.
met and we hit it off, and yeah, it's happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's from a just from a publicist perspective, this is absolutely a feather in your cap to the validity of what you're doing. And that I think that sober living or sober curious living is absolutely going to extend the fad, I think, of COVID, where it kind of started to come from a bit. And it does seem that, specifically the culture is starting to lean away from wanting to have that glass of wine every night or, be partaking in the ways that they have been with substances. And I think it speaks volumes that someone with his caliber would consider not only your space to be unique and interesting enough for him to consider, but to rely on simply getting to utilize that menu to really bring that flavor, those tastes, work with your bar and what you have coming out in these non-alcoholic beverages. Like that's a revelation for the food industry that I think has only really been done in small party style. And I personally am so excited to see where once you launch in mid October, late October, somewhere around there.
Yep. Yep.
I'm so excited to see what levels and variances of communities you're going to be bringing because I think, with that aspect of the culinary world starting to pay attention, it does really bring a nice flair to going out again with the hopes of we're going to have a really nice meal. It's going to be in a really nice curated space with individuals that are all there for the purpose of coming together, having food, enjoying time, which isn't not what's happening in restaurants, but for this particular group of people that do really like to be around others that have been through what they've been through. I applaud you in giving not only such a gorgeous space as you have for everyone to be able to enjoy, but it is functional. It does make sense throughout the day. And I'm really excited to learn more about the events and things you have coming. You have a monthly dinner you're going to be doing, which I'm sure people are going to be clamoring to get seats at. So tell us about that because it sounds really cool.
Sure. So it's called Cornerstone or Cornerstone Groups. So it'll be monthly groups for each group. So there could be more per month, but it'll be a closed group of people around a specific topic. And so we'll curate the group specifically so that if your group meets the first Wednesday of every month, it is inked in your calendar and you're there. Whether it's around a specific topic, maybe it's a book club, maybe it's something recovery related, maybe it's parenting related, and everything in between. And that's just a way to build like kind of that smaller, intimate community. We're going to do game nights, backgammon, chess, trivia, which I love, singles night, dating. We're going to have speakers. We're working on securing some spots with some authors and doing some book signings, around healthy living and around cultural events and things like that, and everything in between. It's not necessarily like so specific around recovery or alcohol free or anything like that. Although we'll be able to provide that, and we're going to really want to use the community to see what they want. Comedy night, phone free nights where everyone kind of puts their phone in a box when they walk in, and it's you're there, you're present, which I love.
Yeah, it sounds like a dream. I'm gonna have to take a little trip up. If you let
Please,
me in for the day, I would
please,
definitely love to do
anytime.
all of those things. um, I love so much that you are in this space now where you're kind of again like that Godfather moment, knowing that you're going to be opening so soon, but you're still kind of like waiting in the wings for like all of the final touches and details. Like, how are you spending your time right now? Both day to day, what you've got going on, but like emotionally, how does this feel to be like anticipating this opening?
It's a great question. It's exciting. Um, there's decisions that have to be made that I was like 2 hours ago. I didn't even realize this was even going to be a thing. So like stuff like that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Salt shakers,
Oh.
napkins, yeah, like shit like that. Where it's just like, oh yeah, like it's so obvious. Like once you find out, you're like, oh duh. But like, like an hour ago, you're like,
Yeah.
yes, they're just not going to appear, dude.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of that. The team has been amazing. We're building a team. We have membership and operations. We've got so I guess I'll give him a plug. Dan Brody is our senior vice president of membership. So he's going through every application, doing interviews, all the outreach, all the stuff like that. Taryn Weiss, who is kind of like our Swiss Army knife, and there's nothing she really can't do. So she kind of runs operations and project manages, and she's kind of just like our little pit bull. And then the contractors and architect designer, like it's been such an amazing experience, like having people to lean on, like I said before, like having people in the room that know more than you do.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm finding myself like I'm just on it. I'm just like I don't let my emails get past 5 things. So like if I have an unread email, it means that's things I need to take care of
I
immediately.
love that.
So I'm like I'm on top of it. I also have 2 little kids, and so like yeah, my son is 5. Tomorrow is his birthday,
Oh, happy
and
birthday.
thanks. And I have a daughter that's 10 months, and so
Oh,
I'm burning the candle at both ends, and I think it's like it's good for me because like I'm just I have to keep moving.
yeah. Wow. Being a father, what does it feel like to you to be not only living a sober life for quite some time, but now being able to build, in essence, your empire around sober living and knowing that one day your kids are going to grow up to understand what that decision was for you? What does that feel like?
It's empowering. I feel like if my kids can understand how to live or act in a certain way or be a certain type of person based on watching me rather than me telling them, that is a win.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. I can tell you're a good dad because you've taken good care of yourself, and we got to put that oxygen mask on before we can help others. So I'm sure they have all they need right in front of them, and they're going to really enjoy watching this process. I think
I,
it's,
I hope so.
you had a father as an entrepreneur too, and I wonder if that kind of gave you that, you know, we love our dads, and it's so neat to finally learn what entrepreneurship is one day and be like, wait, you did this all yourself? Like, holy moly, my dad's awesome. And you're just going to give them so many things to look at and set their sights on, whatever that is for them, because you have certainly followed your path in a way that I think is very commendable, and through some times that were quite scary and I'm sure very life threatening, in terms of how you were living your life. But
Oh yeah.
I first want to thank you for turning your attention to just curating a space where people get to come and be themselves. I think you probably learned during your time as a social worker how different we all are, but at the core, we do like to gather. And to be able to gather with intent and purpose these days is really something difficult to do, especially in person. And I just hope that if one person sees this and goes, my goodness, this is for me, and I am in New York and I'm going to join, like, amazing. But I can imagine, Justin, you're setting the tone here for there to be a bit of a trend that's going to hit the cities, and I hope explode in a manner that makes it possible for there to be a maze in every major city, because it's certainly needed, and it's being asked about, and it's just not really something, en masse that's being brought to people yet. And I just can't wait to see how much the maze not only builds out the foundation of this particular sect of the industry, but where you're going to take it, and where it's going to go. It's so exciting. And I'm so happy that you did this for yourself, and so happy that you decided to believe in yourself and to just take every day one day at a time, because you are truly a walking miracle. As you said, it is a miracle to put anything down that controls you. And I think, I hope that every person that has been able to overcome addiction, like yourself, is able to give themselves that pat on the back, because you deserve it. And it's been a lot of hard work that no one got to see. And, they get to live the fruits of your healing now. But I think it's just really important to call attention to all the wounds that lead us to where we are, to be able to come out of that and grow out of that and evolve into who we've become. And you're a stand-up individual, and I'm just so thankful we got to have this conversation. I'm very excited to visit the maze when it opens. I don't want us to leave before you telling everyone how they can join. Guys, there's going to be a wait list, okay? So like, I don't even know if you've closed the wait list. I hope not before I tell everyone this. But how can they go about joining or attempting to join and being on that wait list?
Sure. Well, thank you for saying all that. I really like it, it's a gift to yeah, it's a gift to be alive and to be able to provide this, and in any way, any way that would benefit anybody who, and even if it's not with the maze, if somebody finds some hope in my story, then it's all worth it. Um, and you're right, we do want this in as many cities as possible, because it is a growing trend, and we need it. So yeah, that is hopefully in the not too distant future, but we're going to focus on New York for right now. TheMazeNYC.com is our website. The Maze NYC on Instagram. Applications can be found on our website, TheMazeNYC.com, or on like kind of the heading or whatever profile of our Instagram. And we're reviewing every application. So our goal is to really curate the community so that everybody really feels a part of, and we're going to look at everybody. We're going to be doing interviews, and yeah, just really, we're taking it seriously. It's not, especially in the beginning, we really want to make sure that everybody there is there for the right reasons, and going to be there too. We don't want this to be the kind of place where someone just joins and never shows up. It's really, we're there for a reason. But we're thrilled. And barring any unforeseen delays, we should be open in mid-October, and the menu, we'll start teasing some stuff about the menu hopefully soon, but it's going to be sick. The food's going to be amazing. The space is going to be amazing. I mean, I'm biased, obviously. I fully admit it, but objectively, it's going to be cool.
I have no doubt that it will be. So sorry. I have no doubt that it will be amazing. And I think I'm going to be like with bated breath on your Instagram that day, because guys, take a look at the website. Just the little visual teasers that you'll get a full understanding of the aesthetic that is going to sweep over you when you walk in those doors and enter into the maze. Let me ask you, where did the name come for the maze? Because it's just such a fun thing to say you're showing up to, and I'm just curious where that came from.
Sure, I'm glad you asked. The name was hard for me. I'm like, I pride myself on being really good at stuff like that, and I was struggling with it. I really didn't know what to do, so I would like overthink it, underthink it, ask for advice, stop talking about it, flip through dictionary. I mean, obsessively listen to song lyrics, and like nothing felt right. And I didn't want it to be the address, which a lot of places do. I didn't want it to be any. It needed to have meaning to me. I needed to like mean something. And I'm driving, and I'm with my wife, and the song "Maze" comes on. It's a Fish song, and like I said, I'm a music person, so
Yeah.
I'm this Fish song "Maze" comes on, and I just, without saying a word, I just pointed at the screen in the car, and she just goes, "Done." And that was it.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I had people that were like kind of not really into it, and I didn't care because it just felt right. And I think being stuck in a maze, not positive, but like leading someone out of a maze, uniting to get out of a maze together, something like that, I think is very positive. And life can be a maze, recovery can be a maze, and that's really it. That's really where it came from.
Fish vibes for life. Like can't
Of
ask for a
course.
more peaceful, better better little essence to come with the name. That's so incredible. And I love that. I love that you let your gut lead you to that, because you could have thought about it 57 ways till Sunday and still not
I
had
could have
it
hired
click for
someone.
you.
Yeah, I could have paid for it.
Yeah, you could have paid for it. Oh my goodness. Well, I have one final question for all of my guests, and it's this. Justin, how do you make your life rich?
I think what I try to do to the best of my ability, is put other people before I put myself. I really try to think of myself second and not put my needs or wants or priorities first. And I find that like when I'm focused on being of service in any way I can, I'm not thinking about myself and my bullshit, and that's really helpful to me. It's helpful to have kids too, but I don't know. I'm very. I just try to be. I really try to be in the moment. I really try to be present. I have a very dedicated meditation practice that I'm like just kind of obsessed with. And like this morning, my son's goes to camp. So we walk. The bus stop is like right outside. That takes him to camp every day, and we have this same routine every day. And this morning we were walking, and he just grabbed my hand as we were walking, like, and I know it, and it happens all the time. He's very affectionate and loving and sweet, and I know that he's 5, so like these days maybe are not gonna last much longer. But
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something about it today where I was just like, what can be better than this? So
Oh,
I guess I can make my life rich by not thinking about myself first, but also really being present and noticing really what's going on. Really
yeah.
being awake.
That's beautiful. You can tell that you very much live your life that way, and you can tell that you are building something that is going to help others to live that way. So, such an incredible mission. I love your journey. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being vulnerable and, showing the parts of you that some may consider not worthy of putting out there. But I love so much this change, especially I think our generation is coming forward and just being like, this is my life. This is what's happened to me. This is what I've learned, and this is where I'm going. And if you don't understand it, it's not for you to understand, but there's someone out there that will. And for those of you listening, I just hope that Justin's story encourages you to share whatever your thing is with others. You are never alone in your suffering, and there is someone out there that has either been through it or would love to support you through it. And I think there's a lot to be said about just being who we are out loud for others to see. And Justin, I thank you so much for being yourself out loud for everyone to see. You are a true treasure, and just can't wait to see the maze open. And congratulations. It's going to be
Thank you,
incredible.
thank you.
Literally
Truly.
less than a year to signing the space, correct? You found it in October. You walk by and then it'll
We
open in
we we
October.
we signed the lease in January. So
Cool. Oh my gosh, less than wow, you're churning it out. Holy
yeah,
moly.
yeah. Oh yeah. We're not
Wow.
messing around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're not. Oh, it's been a pleasure, Justin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, there's going to be links, tons of links in the show notes. Get your membership in. The
Yes,
doors will be
please.
opening soon. Thank you so much, Justin. This was awesome.
Great. Thank you.